Okay, so before you judge me, this was my husband's idea. So I was put it on. I said, what if I just busted this out and wore it? He was like, you should. It's like, I'm cool. So there you go. So this is the intro to my supernatural life, because I kind of wanted to do like a series of all the things that have happened to me. There's been so many, and some of them have been incredible. So I wanted to do like a series that just kind of explains like all the things that have happened, and laws of entanglement, and then the Christ consciousness and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm doing it. People ask like, why are you doing it? Why don't you just like let it go or whatever? One of the reasons why I do not let it go is because I did get the Christ consciousness awakening for the first time when I was 13, and then several times since then, and full blown in 2000. And so I want to talk about that with people so that Christians understand what's going on and what's happening, because it's starting to happen a lot more, and people are starting to get this uneasy feeling, and it's everywhere. And Christians, they call it doubt or whatever, and they have this big struggle with it, but it's really actually there to make you question your programming, because your programming needs to break down. And I also what I learned in researching all religions was that all religions are true. And what I found out was that there's like portions of each spiritual and religious group that were parts of the actual human story, Dora, Torah, Emerald Tablets, or whatever you want to call it, the first. And what they did was they just separated it into seven different pieces, and then the seventh being the esoteric, theirs, that's their mystery religion. And then they took all the mystery school stuff out of it and made their religion, and then gave us all of the other religions. I think that's the numerology might actually be wrong, but it links up with some sacred geometry. I have some pictures on my other shows. So I wanted to go over that, with everybody, so people can know what's going on, because there's a lot going on right now, right under your nose, that you need to know about. Once you can break this code, the Bible code, and then kind of understand, when you really start to connect with the Christ consciousness, and you awaken that Christ consciousness, that divine light in you, how that affects you. It affects you in many different ways. People around you, it affects you. People pull away from you. People are drawn to you. Some people they're just gonna, they don't want to be around you, and they're not gonna understand anything you say. And we're kind of past that point at this point. Like I've said to a couple people that call themselves gatekeepers, like, it's kind of time to close the doors on enrollment now. It's, like, we're done trying to convince people. I've been trying to convince people for 10 years of what's going on right now, and like, people are coming to me like, oh, did you know? I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you guys all called me crazy 10 years ago. So, okay. I want to talk about, so if I was 10 years ahead then maybe I should be telling you guys now what I know now. So I'm going to tell you what I know now. And Jeff King from the 9/11 Truth Movement was one of my mentors, and he told me a lot of his information, most of his information, and a lot of personal things about him. And then there's been some slanders, nasty things that have been said about him. So I'm going to talk about him and what kind of person he really was, and shed some light, just to say, hey, I'm not going to let, the week that he died, I'm not going to let people get on his videos and spew lies about him that was just nothing less than just flat out lies. And I want to talk about the book that he gave me, which is, he kind of, I would say, groomed me for this position, but and many people did, but him primarily for the technical, political part of it, I guess you could say, in the military industrial complex, him having been an MIT bioengineer, actually. When you think about it, most of his courses were biology. He actually was in a class with the guy that invented the microbe that ate the oil, but then they couldn't use it because it ate like everything else too. It ate concrete, it ate everything. So they couldn't even use it, but it was specifically set up to be able to get them in the door to Patent Life, which we already know it's so old news. Um, so he gave me the book Principia Discordia, so I want to talk about that book. I highly recommend anybody get Principia Discordia, because if you want to know about the forces that we're dealing with right now, that is a book that will explain to you the chaos magic, and not the chaos magic, but just the chaos of how they're winning right now. These people are fast. So so I want to share, Jeff's side, obviously, but most of all, I want to talk about that Christ anointing that happened to me, and that happened to a lot of people that I actually at the church I was, and I got kicked out of church. I got kicked out of church, but I had questions about like Easter and stuff, and actually I was told, if you don't want to do this, we've already met as a group and talked about it and decided that we don't care. And so if there's a word for word, if that's another. Yeah, I have a crazy good memory. And she said, we don't care, and if you don't like it, then you need to find another church. And this is before we even started talking. It was only because I had sent her a video of this Mike Hoggard. This guy's obviously a disinformation agent or an extremely misguided individual. But the fact of the matter is, he's letting like a ton of information out about the numerology of the Bible, and when it specifically talks about the pillars and where the Ark of the Covenant is, it exactly coincides within our DNA and the Holy Grail, that type of stuff. It's like actually our DNA, and so. That's what I wanted her to see, and then also that obviously, something is going on, because the church is having a hard time, and these pastors are falling apart on stage, all crying and stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me, and all the songs on the radio are like, I'm so pathetic, and I'm just so weak, and it's like, wow. Dude, like, I don't even, if you really believe that Christ died on a cross for your sins, what the hell are you walking around like pathetic catechumens for? It doesn't make any sense. You don't need to act like that. I also I got knowledge to the angelic records, and that happened to me on I think it was June 3rd. But I got access to the angelic knowledge and the angelic records called I found out later they were called the Akasha records. And also, you have to know that everything that's happened to me, it happens, and then I've gone out and searched. And I've been searching for 13 years for somebody to tell me what happened to me 20 years ago. Well, it was 20 years ago when I was 13, and then when I was 20, and then 13 years later when I turned 33. And I was astral projecting to a point that people were like, oh my God, I saw you. I was like, what do you mean you saw me? I don't know what you're talking about. And then when they would tell me, I would like, I have a memory of that. It's weird, but did I just put it there because I took psychology? So did I put the memory there because you said it? I don't know. I need a little bit more than that. And then so the next time I astral projected, I was like, oh, I'm gonna look down, and I saw my friend's car. I think I told us another video. I saw my friend's car, and I told her I saw your car. She's like, oh my God, I was there. And that led me to see a bunch of things that have to do with the school shootings, which are a whole other. I'm not saying it's fake or no one died or whatever, but I can tell you this: that right before they did all the school shooting in Taft happen, my friend saw the Men in Black there the day of the Aurora shooting. So they're running their tests and pulling the triggers to see if people are responding to their programming and going into like assassin mode or whatever they're doing. So, but anyways, so I have information that I want to talk about. I also got contacted by the 24 elders. I know that sounds so nuts, but they sent me a video on YouTube saying a bunch of stuff to me, and it felt like I was like, this sounds like they're talking to me. This is so weird. And it was just everything I was looking into and everything I was thinking and everything that I was like, okay, that's weird. And my internet like came to life a couple times. They were moving videos around on the internet. Like they took a video from like a long time ago and they put it on today's reel so that I would watch it, because I always go and watch this certain guy that hosts the Coast to Coast. And so I was always watching it. And Coast to Coast is directly linked to my life somehow. I do not I do not know why or whatever, but I've had several things happen to me that could have been really bad. And my dad has called me and been like, "Oh, I saw on Coast to Coast they were talking about this." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I could not believe you're telling me like a so much." We'll get into it, but so there's a lot of that stuff I want to go into. I don't want to go into too much because I'll get too much. Maybe I do like a table of contents. So I need to write out all the episodes and be like to come, so there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I also see I grew up. My parents cleaned houses growing up, so I grew up having to clean all of the rich people's houses in town, and going to school with their kids and like wearing their hand-me-downs and stuff. And but I was a seamstress, and I've just been sewing since I was like 8 years old or younger. 8 years old is when I made my first skirt. But and went outside. I got in trouble, but I went outside in my skirt I had sewn. But I lost my train of thought because I'm thinking like. That, but I've been talking about that instantly, how funny that is. But in any case, the 24 elders contacted me. They gave me a message. It's a positive message, and I want to share it. They were moving the internet stuff around. That's what I was talking about, and they were actually moving it around so that I could see what they were telling me. I mean, it was like everything that I had been researching, like it had like a central point. It just kind of all tied into this central point, and then. I was like, oh, okay, wow, all right, well, okay. So I read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Essene Gospel. Well, I read the Essene Gospels after, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, I think I read them before. But what I had been mainly studying was what they took out of the Bible. I wanted to know, what did they take out? What do they not want us to know about? Who are we that they don't want us to know who we are? My husband and I, we get followed. I got pictures of them, taking pictures of us. They follow us to church. They follow us to Joann's Fabrics. When they follow us yard sailing, they call us and say weird things. They sit outside of our house. If you like are leaving somewhere and you're going to go into the gas station and grab a coffee, they'll wait for you across the street and then keep following you. Sometimes they follow ahead of you, I noticed. So I always wonder, like, okay, let's just figure this out. Forget about who are they. Who are we that they are following us around town? And then I have linked like 3 groups of people. They're all linked to themselves, and a bunch of people that are involved in like my church I grew up in and like all kinds of other stuff. And then they're linked to all kinds of other different groups. And we're linking into all these secret societies. And I'm going, this is so strange. And then I'm learning that like certain people, when we, the story of how I came, my conception. And so when we came onto the planet, they knew who we were and kind of where we were coming through at. And I think that has to do with even where we were conceived and where we were born. Because actually where I was conceived was part of close to a vortex here in town where I live. So in any case, I want to share, like, that's a kind of a crazy story. And I don't want to get into too much, but, like abortion, my mom was flung up out of her sleep in the middle of the night when she was pregnant with me, and she said, "It's a girl," and my dad thought somebody was breaking into the house. So she conceived me. My soul came crashing down into her womb, flung her up out of her bed in the middle of the night, and she knew it was a girl. And so I want people that are considering killing the babies for money, which is really what they're doing. I have to kill this baby. If I don't get an abortion, then I'll never get to go to college. It'll ruin my life. It's gonna ruin my life. And that's what my mom says always. It's gonna ruin my life. I had a baby young. You have family. You have babysitters. What? You can't go out and have a good time when the baby is sleeping with family or something? I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't go out as a family. Like, you can't have fun. Your life is over. What a disgusting thing to think. So, I want to talk about that, of course, because it's important to me, because it also proves that the soul is there at conception. It's not at birth. But your biorhythm comes on at birth. When you get on the carousel. And I want to talk about the carousel too. That's like the Chinese calendar that goes this way, and the zodiac calendar that goes this way with the months. So while the months are going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and you're jumping on your carousel and you're going up and down, everybody's going at different rates because we've gotten on the carousel at different times, and the carousel is going around and around and around like this too, right? What's the first thing you see when you walk into Disneyland? A giant carousel, because we're all on a giant carousel, okay? So, and I've always thought my whole life, I think zodiac symbols are just like the way God assigns personalities. Like if you come onto the earth during this cycle, like how you're going to be exposed to the earth elements and the seasons, and how you came down and when you came down, like has to do with your personality. And then I met one other Christian girl who thought the same thing, and then we both concurred that it seemed like once you became Christed, so to speak, that those characteristics that shape you of that zodiac are the things that fall away, and then some of the positive things are the things you hold on to. So is it part of the Anunnaki grid? Don't know, but we're going to get into that, and I'm also going to do a series on all of the angels from the Essene Gospels, and I'm really excited about that. So I hope that is my preface right there. I have a lot of really neat people. I've been planning on doing a show. I used to host a television show before, but I've been planning on doing a show for a long time, and so I've been writing in journals that I kept in my purse for over 10 years. So I have them all now, and I'm just starting to pull them out and just recalling like funny events and funny things that happen. And so I'm going to talk about a lot of neat stuff and neat people that I know. I know a lot of neat people. I have to be a little discreet with some people's privacy, obviously, but I've had a lot of neat opportunities in my life to be around interesting people, like for instance Pat O'Brien from Access Hollywood, and you know, I have a friend that used to live with John Lennon, Yoko Ono. My uncle taught Elvis how to play guitar, which really is not that much of a compliment because Elvis doesn't play very good guitar, or he didn't. And there's a bunch of other stuff. But I'll get into it. I'm writing everything down, trying to be as organized as possible, because if you were to see inside my brain, it would just look like however I leave everything behind me. They call me Tornado Toni. So I have a lot going on. My brain moves extremely fast, so I have to really slow it down to be able to talk to you. And then I think about everything so interconnected. It's hard. You see a lot of people that try to explain this to you. Maybe they get frustrated, or they don't know how to explain it. It's because everything is connected. And what you have to understand is anytime a truth gets out, the powers that be will fabricate a story around it so that no one believes that little piece of truth. And that's basically what they've done with religion, is they've taken small pieces of religion and then put them into really silly belief structures and given it a name. So people say, oh my God, that's a cult. They're stupid, you know, or they don't know, or, well, they have multiple wives. They're terrible people, you know, and what's true is that all the religion is true, and they've separated it on purpose to make us fight and create inner soul conflict, and they want to keep everybody from getting the Christ consciousness. And that to me is like the most important thing in churches right now, because it's like time for Christians to graduate from Christianity to Christhood. Christianity, that is old and played out. It's done. It's old and played out. It's too much. It's like banging rocks and twigs together, trying to get fire and not getting anything in the rain. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. People are laying hands on people. No one's getting healed. Don't you want to know why? Don't you want to know why? Don't you want to know there's a science? You know, Christianity, I want Christians to know, and everybody, not just Christians. I mean, when you think about it, every single person on the planet that is a human is Christian. Whether you want to think it or not, you are. So that's it. It doesn't matter. Christ, Jesus Christ, he didn't, whatever, Jesus, whatever. You know, Yeshua, Joshua, Yehoshua, I don't even care, but, you know, he's here many times before, and, you know, he didn't come down and ask you. Maybe he asked us. I don't think he had to. But, you know, I don't think he asked you, you know, do you want to, you know, no, it doesn't matter. He just did what he had to do, and now it's done. They say the battle's already won. That's very scientific. That's a scientific reason as to why the battle's already won. You know, you try to tell someone about the Stargate portals, and people are like, oh my God, she's so crazy. She's talking about Stargate portals. Okay, you say I'm crazy because I found a Stargate portal that is literally just marked in plain sight. When the police follow me, people show up, peel out, get mad because we're over there videotaping and stuff. Tell me how Jesus Christ ascended. I can tell you. I want somebody to, If you're a Christian, you don't believe in portals, you don't believe in the earth grid, you don't believe in the Anunnaki, and you don't believe in magic, please, by all means, tell me how he ascended. Because there is no possible way for that to happen. I go, well, he's God, he can do anything. Yeah, most certainly. God is science. That's the whole point. E equals MC squared. That's the voice of God. That is the rhythm and frequency of the voice of our Creator. And so, how did he ascend? You know, how do you explain the dove that came out of the sky? Let's talk about the dove. The dove appears at the ark. The dove seems to appear whenever this ark appears, right? Noah's ark. Think electrical ark. Okay, it seems to show up. I want to go into all this stuff. So I'm going to go into the moon. I want to talk about the planets, what the moon is, and what's inside of it. And I want to talk about what the planets are, who made them, what they represent, where they're going, what's happening to them, what's on the outside of that black sky at nighttime that twinkles through the holes, and a lot of stuff about the angels and fasting, because in order to get the Christ consciousness, you have to fast for 7 days, and every day, several times a day, you need to pray. You have to pray for like the angels to protect your body. You have to pray mostly the angels to protect your body, but you can even just like what I did. In the Sing Gospels, it says you need to pray for the angels, but what I did was, because I don't know, I'm very in touch with my guardian angels. I always have been. A lot of people like say they talk to their angels or something. I just apologize. I just say I'm sorry and thank you. I'm sorry that I make you work overtime, because I know that I am a walking calamity. So I am a walking calamity. I know this. So I always I'm so sorry. I feel like I have to make my guardian angels work overtime. But what I did was I just prayed, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. I just did the Lord's Prayer. And one thing that I was doing was I did this, and then I found out later on what happens when you do this. I was saying all these different names of God. All these different names of God, all these different like entities who are kind of like the 7 spirits of God or the 24 elders. And so the order, the founders, they have all kinds of different names. There's the dark terrestrials, whatever. There's all kinds of different ones. But so anyways, I don't want to get into too much, but I'm going to get into that. Because I'll give it all away in one, and then we'll talk about anything else, so we'll run out of time. And also like things that happened like with me and my dad and our connection to the 9/11, what happened on 9/11, and just some weird psychic experience, dreams, really crazy prophetic dreams, and then of course like the biggest prophecy I think that I had over my life was at the farmer's market, where someone had just like, he said, we went to it's called Man Camp. It's like a Christian camp for guys. They went, and he was like, I can't leave this mountain without telling you what happened. And my husband was like, okay, you know, it's not, my husband's pretty quiet. And so I said, okay, and said, I went to the farmer's market. We used to sell tea at the farmer's market. He said, we went to the farmer's market, and I was getting some stuff, and I just wanted to get in there and get out. And I was walking across the street, and I heard, this has come to an end. And then something just stopped him. Now, this is coming from him to my husband to me. So if it's not exact, Matt San Pietro, you're more than welcome to comment. And he said that it was not the voice of God. He just said he didn't know what it was. And he said then he heard a mighty voice come and say, no, this has just begun. And he said it was just powerful, and that we were going to do like great things, and like we're going to change the world and all this. And here's the thing. I was ticked off at my husband because he forgot the table to set the market up on. I was like, ah! So I was ticked off at that, irritated a bunch of other things that were going on in the relationship that I was irritated with. And so I was very frustrated. And as I was standing there, I looked down, and this is far away. We were like way at the back of the farmer's market, and he was at the intersection where the main street is. So, but I looked down. I mean, there's people around me. Our friends had a booth next door, and a Monarch soap booth next door, and then we had the tea shop, which was I forget what it's called. I forget what it's called. That's so funny. But in any case, I know what it's called. But where I just looked down and I said, "This has come to an end. This has come to an end." Like I was just done. I'm like, I'm done with this. I don't have to do this if I don't want to. And how somehow those words made it all the way down the street to him, and an angel spoke to him and told him that. And then it wasn't long after that I started to speak those names of God. And when my father-in-law, Jeff King, he's not my father-in-law anymore, but he was a good friend of mine after. So I didn't lose him as a father-in-law. But when he died, a lot of supernatural things started happening, really different stuff. And I didn't communicate with him. I don't communicate with the dead. I don't do anything weird. I'm just Toni. I'm just Toni with an I. So always an I, never a Y, I always say. So my name was almost going to be Rose. I would have been such a different person. If my name had been Rose, I would have been a completely different person because I had a boy's name my whole life. It kind of makes you tough. So, but I hope you check out. This will be preface. It'll just be 0, and then the next one that I do will be number 1, and then I'll talk about. I'm going to skip my conception. Well, I'll do one, and then I'll do a follow-up where I interview my dad. So I'll do a number 1, which is my conception, because I want to begin at the beginning, as my lawyer always says. And then I want to do a couple more just like on just dreams that I've had, prophetic dreams, because I have them all written down, and the prophecies and stuff like that. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.